Hey, it's John, and in this video we're going to talk about how to create value to your ideal target audience through questions. Now, when it comes to getting people's attention and building authority, you really need to cut through the massive amount of communication and messaging people get each and every day if you want to reach your ideal target market. Everyone has their WIIFM filter turned on, and they ask themselves, who are you and why should I listen to you? For your messages to be effective and resonate with your ideal target market, you need them to really connect and get past their WIIFM filter. Now, one of the best methods to do that is to uncover and use the language that your ideal target market is already using, the language they're currently using to have conversations that are going on in their mind. Next, you need to identify the greatest decision triggers that make them buy. And you can do all this through surveying. Now, surveying doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as asking a series of questions that will provide you the feedback you're looking for. Now, I'm going to share with you 6 questions that will get the information you require to build your messages to get past that WIIFM filter. Now, if you haven't done so already, download the worksheet and follow along the example I'm going to go through. Then, using the format, create your own questions and start to survey people who are in your ideal target audience so you get the answers in the language that your audience uses. And in another video, we'll show you how to turn those answers from your surveys into marketing message gold. So let's dig into the 6 questions that will reveal the language your ideal target audience is using. Okay, so question number 1. What is the single biggest fear you have when it comes to blank? To be clear, here you want to ask this question based on the context that your market has to you or the pain or problem that they're trying to fix. The reason we ask this is that fear is a very powerful emotion for all of us, and ultimately it's what drives most behavior. Fear is actually a more powerful motivator than pleasure. Fear and pain is what really motivates most people to take action. What we're trying to do here is find out what their fears are so that we can really try to solve the problem from the most powerful place. Asking this question also helps really uncover their motivation and identify why they aren't acting. Now, we're not asking that they make a whole list of all the things that they're afraid of. We're asking them to name the one that comes to the surface. That's the one we want from that particular person. If we're trying all the biggest fears from all of our target market, we're really going to have a really good sense of what the powerful motivators and drivers are for our market. The word biggest focuses on one thing, while fear is a very powerful emotion that drives most human behavior. Now, this question helps uncover the real motivation and identifies why they aren't taking action. So what you need to do is fill in the blank at the end of the question. So for example, what is the single biggest fear you have when it comes to selling a $10,000 a day coaching program? Or what is the single biggest fear you have when it comes to getting a massage? What is the single biggest fear you have when it comes to visiting a dentist or dealing with a lawyer? So whatever you sell, you enter the information at the end of the question. You want to ask this question to the people who are in your ideal target audience and accumulate answers, which will be used in your messaging. Okay, so let's move on to question number 2. What is the single biggest frustration you have when it comes to blank? Now, this question is great because for some people, fear may be a question that is too strong. So some people may see this as an easier or more comfortable question to ask. Now, I still recommend you ask both fear and frustration because they're actually different things. Frustration, when you use that word, it's emotional, but it's less about what they're afraid of and more about what really sets them off or bothers them. Using frustration leads them to think about very emotional things. What are the things that drive them crazy when it comes to whatever product or service that you offer? Now, both of these questions are extremely powerful. So as an example, we'll go through a couple of scenarios. What is the single biggest frustration you have when it comes to selling a $10,000 a day coaching program? Or what is the single biggest frustration you have when it comes to getting a massage? Or what is the single biggest frustration you have when it comes to visiting a dentist? or dealing with a lawyer. All right, so that's question number 2. Now moving on to question number 3, what's happening as a result of this problem or frustration? Now once they've recognized they've got a big fear or a big frustration or big problem, the next question is what's happening as a result of it? The goal here is that leads them to recognize what the negative implications are of the problem, pain, fear, or frustration. What it does for us as the marketer is it helps frame the need for a solution. In other words, if they start talking about all the negative consequences that are happening because of this frustration or pain they have, they start to realize to themselves, wow, this is really having a big negative impact on my life. I need to get this fixed quickly. What it does is it connects the emotion and what's happening and the negative implications back to the original problem or the pain or the fear that they've got. So it's very, very powerful. Now your goal here is to lead them to recognize their pain, fear, or frustration and negative implications. So they connect their emotions with the problem or frustration that they're experiencing. Okay, so let's get into question number 4. What have you tried so far that hasn't worked? Because the reality is they likely tried other things before they're coming to you. Understanding what hasn't worked is really going to allow your messaging to connect better. If you know you can assume that they've tried other things to solve the problem first, then if you know what those things are and why they didn't work, that's going to allow you to make sure that you really target a solution that isn't something that most people think they've tried that doesn't work already. What this really allows you to do is to get into the head at some level and basically say, if you're like me. Now what you're doing is you're trying to show that you understand the things that are holding them back or that have held them back in the past. It's obvious that if you know these things, you can relate to those. They start to naturally assume that you probably have a solution around it. So asking this question is critically important because it also helps you understand what their expectations are and how they've tried to solve the problem so far. Now we will hear all of the things that they've tried so far so that we could come at it from a different angle so that they didn't assume or think that we offer or our offer was just something they've already tried that just didn't work. We'd be sure to craft our message in a way that it just didn't sound like everything else that they've tried. Again, knowing what they've tried in the past gives us a good sense of where they are mentally because it will tell you to what degree they've been looking to actually get answers. Because if they haven't tried anything so far, that may indicate that they're not a very motivated marker, not a very motivated market. Okay. Now, question number 5. If a genie granted you the solution to this problem, what would the ideal solution be for you? Now, that's question number 5. Now, the magic wand question is so great because the intention of it is to eliminate all the other obstacles and barriers and limitations that people normally put on themselves when they ask a question. When you say magic wand, it's like you're taking away the problem of time and money and effort. Now, most prospects have something in the back of their mind that they wish they could find in the marketplace, but chances are that they just haven't found it. If they give you an answer to this question, that gives you powerful insights into their wants. What it also does is allows you to evaluate their expectations and understand their perspective. If they're looking for a completely outrageous, unrealistic solution, well, that's good for you to know early in the process so you're not banging your head against the wall, selling something to somebody that's not the crazy, outrageous solution that they're looking for. You're better off if you in your marketing to say something along the lines of, for example, in losing weight, for example, everybody knows that you can't just suddenly drop 10 pounds in 10 days, and that if you do, you're guaranteed to gain it all back plus more. Now that would be something you would say in your marketing message. And that's a way of overcoming people that think that you can just lose 10 pounds in 10 days and not have any negative consequences, and you're going to keep it off. Understanding their magic wand outcome is powerful because the other thing is that what they say, if it's possible, you may be able to actually deliver something to them that looks like the magic solution. Okay? Now moving on to question number 6. What's the single biggest question you have when it comes to blank? Again, this is a question that you ask a little bit more open-ended, and you wouldn't necessarily ask it the same way that you'd ask the first 5. This is a great question to ask if you could only ask one question to your target market. What's the single biggest question you have when it comes to blank? This question causes them to identify the highest value information for them because it's going to be the most important question that, if they could only get an answer, we give them the greatest traction. You know that the questions that they want to ask you are the most important to them. And the great thing is it allows you to develop a powerful list of questions that you can use in your marketing. The list will become, and is an important thing, the list will become a very key part of your packaging and your promoting strategies as you move forward. So for example, what's the single biggest question you have when it comes to blank? So we'll just go through the examples. What's the single biggest question you have when it comes to selling a $10,000 a day coaching program? What's the single biggest question you have when it comes to getting a massage? What's the single biggest question you have when it comes to visiting a dentist? Or what's the single biggest question you have when it comes to working with a lawyer? Guessing or assuming what your market is thinking is business suicide. Don't do it. Asking the 6 questions will uncover the decision triggers and reveal their language, which you then take and utilize in your messaging back to them to create a very powerful connection. The process of asking demonstrates that you're actually committed to serving them. Again, it's hilarious because when you do the surveys, one of the things you'll see a lot of people say is, wow, thanks for asking me what I think, or thanks for asking me this question. It's like people just want to get it off their back or off their minds. You know, what's the single biggest question? And they're thanking you for asking them. You know, here's the people are getting excited, and it really creates a connection and creates this conversation with them when you're asking them these questions. And it's really going to supercharge your marketing when you get these results, and it's really going to help out in your marketing, as I said, and your selling. Now, again, along with this video, there's a handout of the 6 key questions that you need to ask. But what I want you to do is take it, print it out if you haven't done so already, and then as you start to go to your target market, ask them these questions. I want you to be able to complete this exercise so that you're really clear on what the answers to those questions are. So go ahead, download the questions if you haven't done so already, complete the exercise, and I'll see you in the next video.